We're going to talk about a little political corruption today. We're going to hit January 6th, and we're going to go into a little bit of history behind the Democrat Party and some things like that. This is going to be a good show. I'm Jared. This is Continue Freedom. And welcome back to Continue Freedom. If this is your first time here, welcome. Be sure to like, subscribe, leave comments below. We're on X, Locals, Rumble, and YouTube. Also, go to ContinueFreedom.com if you don't mind. Sign up for my mailing list. It'll help me when the day comes, when this channel grows, because I'm going to keep going at this. When this channel grows to the point that I get canceled because I'm a conservative, then I'd love to have your email address so I can reach out to you in the future. It'll really, really help me out. So today we're going to talk about some political corruption, but I want to start by addressing January 6th. I follow a lot of, probably more Democrats than Republicans on my Twitter feed or on my X feed. And so everything I've seen is January 6th, insurrection. And our democracy, which is what they keep calling it, it's a republic. It's a republic. They keep calling it our democracy was attacked. This was worse than Pearl Harbor. This was worse than 9/11. There's just absolutely ludicrous claims. Well, the facts have come out. We know the situation around January 6th, and we know what it was. And we're going to talk about that briefly here. But the Democrat Party, they've been at war with liberty and freedom and, honest debate and all of those things for a very long time. In fact, since before the Civil War. And they believe that having ultimate authority over human beings, and that's why they decided to fight a war to retain their right to have ultimate authority over human beings, i.e., slavery. And this is why the new Democrat Party, not saying they condone slavery, but what I'm saying is they prefer now a different form of subjugation of people that they don't like and that they have no respect for and that they believe are subhuman. And this is the Republican Party. They believe that Republicans are evil, vicious, white supremacist, racist, the worst of the absolute worst of the worst. White people are terrible. And if you're a Trump supporter, you don't even deserve to draw breath. This is the way their rhetoric reads over and over and over and over again, and that we're a threat to our democracy. Well, it's not a democracy, it's a republic. I'm just using their words. And we saw for 4 years and heard for 4 years, report after report. If you turn on, MSNBC, ABC, CBS, in NBC, I don't know if I said that one, NPR, any of those things, we were told for 4 years that we are racist, bigots, homophobes, xenophobes, we're the scum of the earth. And so people were making their voices heard at the Trump rally, and now we've seen the video at the Trump rally, and we know that Trump did not call for any kind of violence, that people did march down there. We don't know how many of the people leading that were the feds, but we know that feds were present, and so we were being entrapped by our own federal government because they knew that tensions were high, and because we had seen with our own two eyes an election being stolen. We had seen that the election in 2020 was stolen. And people were frustrated with it. So not only are they being vilified, and every time, and by the way, most Americans, when they go home, and I'm sure you all are the same way, you don't just turn on your phone and, throughout the day, you are not engulfed in social media. You are not engulfed in X and watching all the vitriol that's being spit on X. You don't come home and spend all of your time on social media paying attention to every little detail, every news report. All you want to do is come home, turn on the news, and find out what's going on in the world, turn it off, and go spend time with your family. Well, the Democrats masterfully created a scenario where, if you did that, you were going to hear that you're a racist, a bigot, a homophobe, a xenophobe, evil, scum of the earth, and if you voted for Donald Trump, you don't deserve to draw breath. You have no place in this country if you voted for Donald Trump. You are the absolute worst of the worst of the worst. And so all these people who were frustrated, they went to the Capitol and were goaded on by federal agents to enter into the Capitol. And by the way, there's a great documentary on X. I mentioned it in my last video. There's a great documentary, lays it all out with timestamps and tells you what was happening when Trump was on the stage, how long he was on the stage, what was happening at the Capitol when he was on the stage, what he had said, what was going on inside of the Capitol. It was laid out beautifully. But nonetheless, January 6th started to happen. People started going into the Capitol. And even after the events on January 6th, I said that it was a bad idea for people to go into the Capitol. But when you're in a heated situation like that, and you were getting for hours, by the way, for over an hour, hit in the face and hit in the body with beanbags. You're just standing there underneath the Capitol. And by the way, the video shows that most of the, like 99% of the people who went to the Capitol, all the gates with signage and everything had been pulled aside by somebody. You can watch some of it happen, but we don't know who those people are. So nobody saw the signs. They just saw clear entrance to walk right up to the Capitol, and that's what they did. And for an hour, they were getting just pounded by concussion grenades and rubber ball grenades and people getting hit with these beanbag rounds from shotguns. And I mean, just getting absolutely obliterated. And they never went in the Capitol. They stayed outside the Capitol. Tensions heated. Capitol Police built it all up until it became kind of came to a breaking point. Well, this is we knew that there was the potential for something to go down beforehand, but the people, the elected representatives who could have stopped this, and the ones who shout the loudest, i.e. Nancy Pelosi and other people, they expected it, and yet they let it happen because Donald Trump offered to give National Guard support. He offered, I think this was even beforehand, to give any kind of support that he could. But they were so desperate, one, to not give him a win and to not give the appearance that he had any kind of authority or control or anything like that. But two, they wanted this to happen. That's why they had federal agents in the crowd. I believe, I don't have any clear evidence of this, but I believe that this was a coordination between intelligence agencies and between our elected representatives to make sure that people went in there so that they had the right to do things like throw people in prison for 10 years for pepper spray, or to hold people in prison for 2.5 years without charge and without trial. It has become an absolute miscarriage of justice. And this is all because they believe what Hillary Clinton believes and what Barack Obama believed, is that we are deplorables clinging to our Bibles and our guns. We stand in the way of ultimate authority over the people. We stand in the way of authoritarianism. We stand in the way of the federal government having their thumb on everything that's going on in our lives and having, if they can, their boot on our throat. And people are frustrated with it. And so the calls then and now are people talking about, not calls for, but they're asking, are we gonna get into a civil war? Are we so divided as a country that there's going to be a civil war? And civil war can come in many shapes and sizes. And it's not going to be just like the American Revolution and just like the Civil War. It's one of those things that builds until you find yourself in it. And, you can look at the American Revolution, the amount of time that passed from, like the Stamp Act in 1765, and then the Boston Massacre was in 1770, and the Boston Tea Party was 1773, and then we didn't have peace until 1783, but the war didn't start for many, many years, for 10 years. And it slowly built until we found ourselves in war with Britain. And in the Civil War, we had constant political fights. We started in 1850 with the Fugitive Slave Act, in 1854, the Kansas-Nebraska Act, and then 1854, because of the Kansas-Nebraska Act and the potential spread of slavery, the Republican Party was formed, and this is because the Northern Territories had opened up to slavery. In 1855, we had Bleeding Canvas. In 1857 was the Dred Scott case. Then John Brown's Rebellion was in 1859. Now, if we've gotten all the way to the point, if January 6th is going to be compared to, John Brown's Rebellion, I don't think that's necessarily the case. And then what did we have in 1860? 1860, Lincoln was left off the ballot in the South. And in December of 1860, after he won, even after being taken off the ballot, South Carolina finally seceded, and the dominoes fell from there. But what we don't want, let me tell you that it is not out of the realm of possibility for civil war to happen here in this country, but this is something that we absolutely do not want. And this is why I believe in, Donald Trump, his resilience in fighting this ridiculous battle that they forced him into is kind of inspirational to me, because despite the onslaught of bogus legal fights, he's got the ability to fight it. It's only a matter of time before they come after people who can't afford to do it, and they'll put them in the poorhouse, they'll put them on the street, and they'll do it one at a time because they have a limitless supply of money. But Donald Trump is telling us that this fight can continue and that he's going to continue, and that we have advocates like him and Vivek Ramaswamy who could get into office and make some meaningful change to avoid that type of conflict. Because a lot of people will flippantly say, oh, yeah, it's going to be civil war. Well, the Democrats are going to lose because a lot of blue-haired people, they don't have guns. All the Republicans are all the ones with guns. It goes so much deeper than that. So much deeper than that, because you can't understand the implications of warring with other people. And warring with other people is hard enough when you're in a foreign country. I mean, ask a World War II veteran, or a Korean War veteran, or a Vietnam War veteran, or an Iraq or Afghanistan veteran. I can tell you myself, warring with people is a horrific thing, and there's a certain amount of moral injury that comes along with warring with other people. And by moral injury, I mean the act of doing something to someone else, to taking another life, as an example, is something that stays with you forever. And people now, it would injure them more than it did a tougher generation, if you want my honest opinion, because we would be doing it to our fellow Americans, and that is not the way that this should go down. This has to be done using our Constitution, using strong, principled leaders who can take us back towards the Constitution and what gave us our freedoms and liberties to begin with. And it's going to take voices that are, on the left and on the right. I'll be honest, I get heated and fired up. I do not like any of the policies from the Democrat Party. I do not like what they're doing to children. I do not like what they are doing, to the mental health of our kids, of our youth. There's a lot of things I don't like, and I vehemently oppose them. But does that mean that I hate Democrats? No. Does that mean that there aren't a boatload of people in the middle of this country that sit somewhere in the middle who are just a slight nudge away from moving a little closer to the Constitution, as opposed to moving ourselves so far away that we pass the event horizon and the only destination for us is the crushing weight of authoritarianism inside of that black hole? And we do not want, and we cannot have war with our countrymen. But, like I say, civil war can come in many shapes and forms and sizes. And in some ways, the Democrats, as they, they kind of forced on us in the Civil War, they are claiming, they are declaring war on Republicans. They want the fight. They need the fight, because right now, this is why it benefits them. They control the justice system. They control the law enforcement. And they will let their people go. They will let their people go, and they will put our people in prison. They want Donald Trump in jail for all numerous erroneous counts. And yet when they have somebody who kills somebody, they'll let them out on bail. And they do this time and time and time again. A Trump supporter deserves no bail. A Trump supporter deserves to be put in prison for 2.5 years without trial, without any charges. But if you fit their narrative, if you are the right person, then the right type of person, then yeah, we'll let you out. It doesn't matter. If you want to go and riot and burn down buildings and burn down small businesses, yeah, we'll bail you out. In fact, our vice president will bail you out. We say we want to protect our kids. We don't want our kids to be exposed to this, these dangerous ideologies and being pumped full of chemicals that are going to give them cancer and cause them long-term damage. And what do they say? They say, I'll be voting for the party that wants to give fourth graders free lunches instead of the one that wants to force them to give birth, implying that fourth graders need to have the right to have abortions. Fourth graders. This is the fight that we are fighting against. And this has to be won in the arena of ideas. This does not need to be, and it will not be, I hope, any kind of conflict with our fellow Americans outside of Twitter, Facebook, the media. And all the while, we have these, politicians who they're fanning the flames. They fan the flames. Republicans and Democrats alike, the Unipartians, they love the fact that Donald Trump is taking the heat for all this, for all the things that are going on, for all the violence on January 6th. This is their biggest, campaign note or campaign point is, oh, Donald Trump, he's an insurrectionist. Take him off the ballot in Colorado. Take him off the ballot in Colorado. And the Supreme Court's now hearing it. So the Supreme Court is saying, well, we'll take a look at it. And maybe this will finally get put to bed. But they will stop at absolutely nothing. And if it's not the Supreme Court in Colorado getting him on the 14th Amendment, they'll try something else. Because he's the outsider. He's the guy who is not controlled by the Uniparty. This is why they have to attack him over and over and over again. And who are the people who are, leading the charge? These are the people. The corrupt politicians leveraging their position for their own monetary gain. These are all the people, and you can pause this and look at them if you want. The S&P 500, 24.8%. Wow, that's impressive. Look at all these people, Republicans and Democrats alike. Good old Dan Crenshaw down there, beating the S&P. He's in the wrong line of work. He ought to be working for one of the hedge funds. But these are people who are insider trading inside of our federal government, and they're the ones who are telling us what is right and what is just and how we should think and who we should vote for. Those are the people that we need to weed out as well at the ballot box. So let's, maybe I'll change my tune one day, but for right now, I don't think people understand the ramifications of civil war, and the Democrats are going to continue to try to push conservatives and Republicans towards civil war because that's ultimately what they want. They need that type of conflict. They need it to get so out of control that they can leverage their power and authority in the Department of Justice, in the FBI, to just start arresting their political opponents. This is what they want. This is what we have to avoid. We are better than that. We are smarter than that. We will figure out a way around it. So there you go. That's my video for January 6th. It was an inside job. Let's just end it on that one. It was an inside job done by the feds. And there you go. Thank you all so much for watching. Be sure to like, subscribe, leave comments below. Go to continuefreedom.com, sign up for my mailing list, and I'll see you in the next video.